welcome to my bathroom. I just got out of the shower and I am just gonna get ready here. My favorite hyaluronic acid. I can never say it right. I want to make sure to put it on when my skin is still wet. So I wanted to talk a little bit about anxiety. I hear a lot of people using the words anxiety and saying that they have it, and like, I am not a medical professional. I'm not trying to be one. I'm just sharing from my own personal experience and my growth and journey with it, because I think my perspective is like a little bit different from others. This is so good for face and hands. I love it so much. It just like seems to always do the trick. When it comes to anxiety, I used to have, I was actually diagnosed with chronic anxiety. I guess that would have been in oh my gosh, I want to say 2010. So that was 13 years ago. I was totally living out of alignment with myself. I wasn't following what it was that I wanted to do or be, or I wasn't listening to my inner truth or my inner self. Just putting on some styling serum. It's hard to talk and actually get yourself ready at the same time. So this is in no particular order. This is just I'm just going with the flow here. So basically I was diagnosed with chronic anxiety. I definitely felt anxiety for sure, but I feel like having that specific diagnosis made my anxiety so much worse, because it became my new identity. And therefore I sort of would go around with this badge on myself, saying that I had anxiety, and it was kind of just my go-to for anything. It was sort of my excuse or cop-out for wanting to just truly be my authentic self, because it was well, I have anxiety, so I can't do this and I can't do that, and And when I look back on it, I really truly did have that. It was all there. I had all the feelings and sensations of having anxiety, and I would have panic attacks. I've had 2 panic attacks before, where I couldn't catch my breath. I thought that I was dying. My heart was racing out of my chest. So it was very real to me at that time. And basically, I was put on an anti-anxiety medication, and instead of it, I feel like it kind of got rid of my anxiety, but it made me live in this very narrow lens. It was I always felt like I was in a cloud, and I didn't have I wasn't fully myself. So it's okay, good, I don't have anxiety, but I'm not actually fully just living or being. It was sort of a diluted version of myself, I think. It was very clouded, and yeah, that's the only way I can really truly describe it. But because that was when I expressed my symptoms to my therapist at the time, that was the only tool that he had in his toolkit, was to diagnose me with that diagnosis and to give me an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication. It wasn't oh, well, are you doing breath work or meditation or cold plunging, or are you in alignment with your truth, or all these sorts of things. So it was when I look back on that, I'm whoa, that was just it's crazy that that's just the only thing that was an option to me at that time. Of course, there was hundreds and thousands of other options that could have been given to me, but this was very here you go, this is what will make you better. And so I think my biggest thing when I look back on that, because my perspective has changed immensely from then, and I learned so much from that experience. But I think the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that I noticed when I look back on that, is I really felt my mind was separate from my body, and that my mind, heart, and body were all separate. I didn't really feel I had control over my own body and my breath and my life, basically. I didn't feel I had control over my life and my destiny. And so I kind of would get into this place of feeling very anxious. And then it would just like continue on, and then it would kind of go down this like this sort of road of just having this, you know, this diagnosis of having chronic anxiety. It just, that was it. Like there was no like solution to it. It's like not how are we gonna make this better? It was just like I was given a medication that was like in reaction to what I was feeling. And the other crazy thing is that because I had this diagnosis, therefore that I thought that I had anxiety. And I think there's a really big difference between having anxiety and sometimes feeling anxious. Those are two totally different things. Like having anxiety makes it seem like it's something that you just have, and that you're just destined for that, and that's it, and that, you know, you always have it. Whereas when you sometimes have it, it's like, it's just a feeling, and you know that feeling is bringing a message. And that's how I see it now, because sometimes I do still feel anxiety. Sometimes it still does come to me, and I'm not on any medications for anything anymore. I haven't been for probably at least 10 years. But I feel now when I look at it, it's like anxiety is a message to actually listen to ourselves. From a societal perspective, anxiety is something that needs to be covered up and it needs to go away. You know, we need to put duct tape on it and a Band-Aid and just like go on living life and take this medication and take that, instead of getting in alignment, being in the frequency of pure love and truth, and being truly in alignment with your truth. And I think a lot of us are really afraid to face that truth of ourselves, because we then have to go back and look at all of the choices that we've made to create this current reality that we're living. And we have to accept that all of that was our own responsibility. And that's scary, and that's hard. And that's what doing the work is like going back and being like, okay, this is where I'm at now. And being like, how can I now live in my truth? And that's what, and like when I get anxiety now, I go to, this is a direct message from my higher self that I am not in alignment with my truth. And so when I can then from there ask the questions, listen to the really small messages from myself and my highest self, what is it that's giving you this anxiety? Like truly listening in, it goes away like that. And I have the power to choose whether it's happening to me or not. I think for a long time, because I was in such a rhythm and all of my neuro pathways were all so wired to think that I had anxiety, that I just thought that I had to have it all the time. And so that was my comforted reaction to a lot of things, was just like with anxiety, especially around like doing things like, just about anything. Really. I would have crazy anxiety around it. And when I was able to just like be like, no, like I control this. I control my breath. I control my mind. That's when it stopped. And that's when I was able to free myself, really. I think that there can be a shift in the language, definitely. Words are magic. Like, it's like casting spells. Shifting from I have anxiety, which is like sounds so definite, to saying, you know, sometimes I feel anxious, is just that in itself is like a totally different world. It really is word magic. And not seeing anxiety as a bad thing. Like now I actually see anxiety as a good thing, because it's just my body sending me a message that there's something that I need to look at more deeply, and there's something that I need to change, or that I'm not in alignment with my truth. Therefore, I need to go back and look and say, okay, where am I not really choosing love and pure light and love and truth here? Like where do I need to go back and really see, like, am I not being honest with myself? Is there something that I could be doing differently? Is there some way that I can like look at things from a different lens? That's how I look at anxiety now. It's not a negative thing. It really isn't. It's all about perspective and what lens we want to be like looking through. And yeah, that was like just a huge, huge realization for me. Just that small difference of that language and that word magic made all of the difference. And I don't think anyone wants to live with having, anxiety on a day-to-day basis. It's a very crippling feeling. But just like making really small changes towards like looking at it through a different lens and being like, what am I doing in my life that actually isn't for me? Or it's not what I actually want to be doing. You know who you are, you know what the messages are saying, and I know that it's really hard to do the work, but trust me, it's a lot easier than living with crippling anxiety forever. Anxiety is a message. It's not meant to be covered up. It's there to listen more closely. And if you can get into feeling that truth, that pure truth, and that unconditional love for yourself, I'm telling you, it's going to make a world of difference. I hope that this helped you in some way, and I know that it really helped me to look at anxiety from a different perspective and to see it as a positive thing. It's not something that has to hinder your life. You really do have the choice of just being here now and feeling into it instead of running away from it and covering it up. Be like, what is it saying? Why is it there? Maybe I need to breathe and listen to what it is that it's saying to me, and sit down and write it out, journal it out, meditate on it, do breath work on it, tap into it, listen to it. Don't run away from it. It's not a negative thing. Okay, thank you so much for watching this week's video. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and like and share. Ciao for now. Mwah.